Welcome back to Alt-Baking Bootcamp,
your crash course in healthier baking.
With each episode, we teach you how to make a healthier version of the recipes that you already love.
I'm Mia Rigdon. I'm here for the nutrition side of things to tell you what ingredients we're using to add more nutrition, vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, fiber, protein, all that good stuff into our desserts and baked goods.
I'm Jenny Dorsey, I'm a professional chef, and I'll be here to talk about how things combine together, why we combine certain things in certain ratios so you can get the best product possible. Today we're making birthday cake, or really a yellow cake that we've added a funfetti sprinkle component to.
So who really needs an excuse to eat cake? Not me, that's for sure.
Let's try the original first.
Okay, this is just give us a comparison point for when we're making our cake.
Well, I want sprinkles in my cake, not just on my cake.
But you know, the layering is nice. It's definitely got a cakey texture. I mean, I guess then it wouldn't be cake.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
It's good.
It's really sweet.
It is really sweet. Well, the frosting especially is very sweet.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be able to eat a lot of this.
No.
And I want to eat a half of a cake. Well, no,
Right?
but you know, yeah.
That's the fun of it, is to have a big slice.
Because it's so sweet, I don't really taste any of the other flavors, so I don't know if this is like a vanilla cake or like what other things are going on in the cake. So I would want to tone down the sweetness just so I can, you know, add something special to my cake. Shall we?
So let's get started on our recipe. The recipe we have is going to follow a similar structure of most cake recipes. However, it's going to be gluten-free, dairy-free, and refined sugar-free. We're also not making this from a box, which I know a lot of people do, so here's a great way to learn how to make a cake from scratch.
So first we're gonna start with half a cup of coconut oil. This is at essentially room temperature, so it's still solid, but it's pliable. So what we're doing here is something called reverse creaming. Usually regular creaming, you have the fat and then you add the sugar and you kind of whisk that together. In this method, you put the fat in and then you put all your dry ingredients first and then add your wet ingredients. When you're making cakes that have gluten in them, a lot of people like to do this because it kind of reduces the gluten formation so that the cake is more moist and kind of tender. Even though our cake doesn't have any gluten, I still think this helps because the fat coats all of the flour particles, make sure that they're nice and hydrated, and the air that's incorporated is a little bit smaller so your cake doesn't dome as much. A lot of times if you want like stack cake, or you just want it to be a little bit more even, I think it's quite nice. And the crumb, I think the texture of it is much finer and smoother. So we're gonna go 1 cup of oat flour and 1 cup of almond flour.
Oats are a gluten-free grain, however, they are a grain. So this recipe is not grain-free, but oats are super high in fiber and have their own set of health benefits. Also, the almond flour, as we've used in multiple recipes, you can look back at our banana bread or our shortcake recipe to learn more about why we love almond flour, but it's high in fiber and it's also totally grain-free, so great to use for baking.
Next, we're gonna add our baking powder. Baking powder in this recipe is gonna help leaven our cake because we don't have the gluten to form that matrix structure we've talked about before. We're also gonna add eggs later, so the two of them combined will really help give that nice airy feel that we're used to in a cake. Gonna add a pinch of salt here. Maybe a little bit more. And we're just gonna whisk that together. What you're looking for is for everything to kind of come together and look a little bit like soft sand, crumbles of sand. It doesn't have to be perfect.
It's already starting to get really crumbly.
Yeah. The idea here is that you do want to see that the flours have been coated with the coconut oil. That looks pretty good.
All right.
So now we're gonna add in all of our liquid ingredients. Because yellow cake has whole eggs, we're gonna go use whole eggs as well. And I'm using honey here, a nice golden honey, instead of many times we use coconut palm sugar in the past. Coconut palm sugar is awesome, but it is darker in color and we wanna make sure we can see our sprinkles.
Could you also use a light maple syrup here?
Sure. We have 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And let's put it together. One of the other things I really like about oat flour is that it does give whatever you're baking with it a nice kind of like chewy consistency, which is really nice, and it doesn't taste like oats. So if you don't like oatmeal, don't worry about oat flour. It doesn't give it like a weird oatmeal-y taste. And if you have some oats lying around the house, you can just make your own oat flour by grinding them up. About 1 1/4 cup of rolled oats will make about 1 cup of oat flour. So as you can see with the consistency of the cake batter, it's like pretty smooth, it's definitely pourable. I wouldn't say it's liquid, but it's like a paste. You're definitely looking for a pourable batter texture, so you don't want it to feel like it's stiff and it's kind of like holding solid.
Last but not least, we're gonna add the sprinkles, which is the most essential part of a birthday cake, if you ask me. We're making our cake kind of funfetti style, but sprinkles is something I want to talk about from a nutritional perspective. What we want to avoid in any of our alt-baking recipes are food dyes. There's a lot of evidence that food dyes and artificial flavoring can lead to a host of issues that we don't want. So we are looking for more natural ingredients. You're gonna have to do some digging at the supermarket or order something online. These are called Supernatural, right? And that's one brand that we found, but I think that there are some other ones, and they're cute little stars, as you can see, but it's all natural flavorings and there are no artificial dyes or weird ingredients, and they don't taste like plastic. Okay, so should we dump these in?
I don't know about the whole thing.
Not how much?
Maybe like half, and then we'll save the other half to sprinkle on top.
Perfect. All right. Is that good or a little more?
A little more.
All right. I love all the colors.
And we're just gonna whiz this together a little bit. You don't wanna stir it too much so that it blends too together, because you want, you know, distinct colors.
Okay, that looks good to me.
That looks good.
All right. I really wanna try this cake batter, but it has raw eggs. Whenever you're using a stand mixer, we'd always recommend that you just give it a good mix at the bottom, just to make sure all the ingredients are fully incorporated.
So now we're gonna get our cake pan ready. I have a springform pan, which you can see the sides lift off.
I love these.
Yeah, they're the best. You definitely don't have to use one of these. It's just a little easier to get the cake out of the pan and have perfect edges, but you can definitely use a regular cake pan.
So we're using coconut oil spray. I would be careful of other sprays that might have some artificial ingredients in there.
Cake liners are definitely fun and they're fancy, but you, again, don't need them if you don't have them lying around. I did not cut these, I ordered these, and they're nice and perfect.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah, I'm just really good.
It's like your cutting skills.
All right, I'm gonna do a little spray on the cake liner. I like to dust a little flour. It can be the almond flour, it can be coconut flour, it can be the oat flour, just so you line all the sides, and that helps the cake kind of rise as it's clinging onto the flour particles. So you're just sprinkling in here. You wanna shake it so you get the whole bottom, and then you shake it along the sides. This is some oat flour, so as you can see, I'm kind of just moving it along the edges. And then we're just gonna give it one final shake, so we don't have too much excess flour, because you don't want like uncooked oat flour just hanging out on the edges.
All right, so now we're just gonna pour the batter into the cake pan and we're gonna bake it.
We have the oven preheated to 350, and we're gonna bake this cake for about 35 to 45 minutes, essentially when a cake tester comes out clean.
I can really smell the honey. That's really nice. Love using that as a sweetener for cake. I wanna make sure to get all of this cake batter in there, and you can see that the batter goes about maybe 1/4 of the way up the pan, but we've got that baking powder in there and the eggs, so it's going to rise significantly in the oven.
You can also definitely bake these as cupcakes, or you know, rectangular cakes, or whatever shape you want.
I always like to kind of tap the pan down before you bake something, just to make sure there aren't any air bubbles in there.
And you get a nice, flat, smooth surface.
Exactly.
Look at all those cute little sprinkles.
I know.
And now I'm gonna go put this in the oven for about 35 to 45 minutes. I'll kind of start testing it at the 30-minute mark with a little cake tester just to see how it's doing. You know, some ovens run a little hotter, or perhaps there's a spot in your oven that's a little hotter. One good rule of thumb is that every 15 minutes or so for a cake like this, you might wanna turn it a little if your oven is not heating very evenly. All right. So our birthday cake is looking pretty good. Just in case, we're gonna test it again with our cake tester.
You just wanna stick it in the thickest part of the cake and make sure it comes out clean. So as you can see here, there's no cake on the cake tester, which means we are good to go. If you're baking a lot, and we hope that you are watching Alt-Baking Bootcamp, then this might be a good little investment. You can buy them really cheaply online or at any sort of cooking store.
We're gonna be frosting this cake, so we want this cake to cool completely, because if you frost a warm cake, then the frosting starts to melt. So we're gonna take this cake and put it in the fridge, and we're gonna make our frosting.
So our frosting is actually coconut whipped cream, which you may have seen us create in our strawberry shortcake recipe, but this recipe is super versatile and can absolutely be used to frost a cake as well.
All right, to make our coconut whipped cream, AKA our frosting this time around, you wanna make sure that you have a mixing bowl that is very chilled. We put this in the freezer, and we also have a whisk in here that is chilled.
So we're using organic, unsweetened coconut milk. Again, check out our strawberry shortcake recipe for more of an explanation on this. We had this in the fridge overnight, and what happens there is that the solids, which you can see in the top here, separate from the coconut water. So we're just gonna be using the solid part of this coconut milk today.
Again, you can buy coconut cream in a can by itself.
All right, you can really see that there's liquid in here and solid parts as well. Today we're not gonna use any of the liquid like we did when we made the whipped cream, because we want the frosting to be thicker. We really want it to hold. So now we're just gonna add a little vanilla extract in here. To make it sweeter, you could put some coconut sugar, maple syrup, or honey, but coconut is naturally sweet, and the vanilla here is just gonna accentuate the natural sweetness without adding any actual sugar. It's definitely coming together. As you can see, it's really nicely incorporated. I think I'd like to just give this like one more second just to make sure there aren't any like lumps of coconut. All right, do you think the cake is chilled? Maybe we can get frosting? In real life, your cake's gonna chill for at least an hour and a half, but
TV magic.
yeah.
You can also freeze your cake, and that's what most, bakeries do. They will freeze the cake before they frost it for like a perfect crumb, but then you have to thaw your cake. So that's up to you what you want to do. All right, so our cake is totally cool, and I'm gonna take this side off, and as you can see, it's really easy to lift off. If you're using a regular cake pan, don't worry. You can just slide a knife around the edges and make sure that nothing's sticking.
It's a beautiful cake though.
It's nice and flat, so if you were gonna layer this, which we're not gonna do today because this is Cake Baking 101, so we're going back to the basics today. Boop.
Yeah.
What should we frost with? Yeah, the spatula.
Okay, so any big frosting techniques, I was just gonna put all of it on top and then we can start smoothing it around.
If you are frosting a cake, both on the side and the top, you wanna frost the sides first and then the top. You also, this is why a lot of bakers will freeze their cake before they frost it. It's easier not to incorporate any crumb when the cake is frozen because it's frozen solid. But again, we're not trying to make the most perfect layer cake here. We just want to add some frosting and make it delicious.
It's a homemade birthday cake. They're always supposed to be a little rustic.
Yeah. For a perfectly layered cake, you also do have to, take this tiny dough off and
which you could do. You could double the cake recipe and cut this off, the top off, and then after, double the frosting recipe as well. And then after, you do this layer, you just add another on top and do it again.
If you want to be more precise, you can use an offset spatula, but again, not something you necessarily need because I think this looks quite nice.
Yeah, I think it's getting there. You have to work it a little. Lots of sprinkles on the top.
Oh wow,
are
really
good. Crunchy.
Look at these cute
Oh
candles.
my gosh, these are so cute.
Nice. How many candles should we put? All of them?
I'm turning a lot older than this year.
Happy birthday!
I love this because everyone wants cake on their birthday, but they also don't want to feel like crap. So this is a pretty good alternative. Ooh, yum.
Look at that.
Oh, it looks awesome. Oh, these are so cute. All right, should we try it?
Yeah.
It is so good.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, the honey, it tastes like really like quite sweet, but in a really good way. And the honey adds like a really unexpected flavor to it, which I really enjoy.
It's like a different, it's just not just sweet, there's like a little bit of flavor and it's kind of, you know, it's like a nice balanced sweetness.
It's so good.
And the crumb on this is really nice and you can see all the air bubbles are really nice and even, which is what we wanted.
Yeah, and the frosting's great. I feel like this is a winner. The texture is great. I mean, it definitely has a very similar texture to the original that we tried, but I can taste like the dynamic flavor of the oat flour, that it just gives it a little bit more oomph than just using regular flour. So I actually prefer this.
Yeah, it's like grown-up birthday cake.
Honestly, I feel like this tastes pretty similar to the original, but it doesn't have that like overly
Abrasive
sweet. Yeah, that was a little bit too much for me, but this still feels really sweet to me and very celebratory. And
I feel like if you serve this to a kid, he or she would be very happy.
they'll never know the difference.
Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want more Alt-Baking Bootcamp, make sure to subscribe to Well+Good's channel below.
And if you have any questions about your cake or any other recipes that we've made here on Alt-Baking Bootcamp, please let us know. Jenny and I are reading the comments. We'll be responding to you guys. If something doesn't turn out the way that you expected, please, please, please comment below so that we can help you on your alt-baking journeys. All right, see you next time. Thank you so much for watching.